Everyone, welcome to the show. So, I have updates about what's going on in LA, all the Los Angeles protests, Trump's unconstitutional actions. Before I dive in, do me a favor, hit the subscribe button below this video if you like this content. Truly appreciate it. Really helps the show. Hoping to get to that 200,000 mark by the end of this month. We'll see. But anyway, it helps to get more eyeballs on this information that MAGA desperately needs to see. So here's what's happening. The protests now have spread beyond Los Angeles. They were already taking place in San Francisco, in Sacramento, California. Also, a couple have popped up in Texas, in Houston, in San Antonio. There's been protests in Chicago and also in New York. Nothing as big, though, so far. But today, apparently the Trump administration sent some of their goons over to Santa Ana, California, because there were protests going on there. Now, Santa Ana, California, that is in Orange County, California. That is a little southeast of Los Angeles County. It abuts Los Angeles County. So anyway, Santa Ana, there's a courthouse, there's, government buildings and so forth. So they were there. People were protesting. They sent some of their troops over there, some of the National Guard troops. And so, yeah, that's what's going down so far as the protests are concerned. And then organizers are scheduling new protests. They're supposedly going to be scheduling protests in every major city throughout the US. I don't know the date yet, but if it's going to be like a coordinated one-day thing or if it's going to be an ongoing thing. So I'll keep an eye on that. I'll let you guys know what I find out. And then here is what's happening at Ground Zero in Los Angeles. According to Newsweek, multiple journalists have been shot with non-lethal weapons. They're there reporting. I talked about one of them yesterday. There was an Australian, I think it was an Australian reporter who was just standing there. There's a video of it. And they shot her in the back of the leg with a rubber bullet. But the report said, in addition to a bunch of these reporters being shot, they said that there are dozens more who have been assaulted by the police or whomever. I don't know if it's the police, if it's ICE, if it's, the military at this point, but they've also been obstructed by law enforcement, which is a complete and total violation of freedom of the press, First Amendment rights in this country, violation of the Constitution. And so, this is what we've been seeing from day one, practically, of Donald Trump's presidency, just violation after violation of our nation's Constitution. So it's ridiculous. And the Daily Beast said that there was a British photojournalist, guy's name is Nick Stern. He was shot with a 3-inch plastic bullet. I guess they're called sponge bullets. But he was clearly press. He had a press card hanging around his neck on a lanyard. He was carrying a large camera, and they hit him with this bullet, got him in the thigh, which, there's a major artery there. So he thought he could just hobble away. And he said he realized he couldn't even put pressure on his leg. It was so bad. And he was bleeding profusely, just blood streaming down his leg. So other protesters, or not the protesters, because this guy is the press, protesters had to carry him away. And he was losing so much blood, he almost passed out. And so they rushed him to an emergency room and he had to go in for surgery. This is what's going down in the United States of America in 2025. This is Donald Trump's America. This is the kind of shit that happens when he's in charge. We had the same kind of crap the first time around. Just he does things, escalates the situation, pisses everybody off, violates laws, violates the Constitution. And then when people rightfully react to it, he sends in his Gestapo and people end up getting hurt. Or, his white supremacist followers come rushing in and people end up dead, like in, Charlottesville. Anyway, back to this LA story. So there is a report of riot gear that was being handed out to these Los Angeles protesters. Evidently, they were caught on video. There was a man driving a van. His face was masked. And then two women were in the back of the van handing out these full face masks. They were calling them bionic shields. So I guess these are the type of shields that they use if you work in construction or, with things that like something can fly into your face and your eye. So they were handing these things out, I guess, to protect the protesters from, I don't know if it's tear gas or whatever. Also, there was news that Whimo, they have suspended their robo-taxi rides near the LA protests. So yesterday, you guys might recall, if you caught my report on that about the right-wing hypocrisy, the protesters were calling for these Whimo, these are self-driving taxis. So nobody's in them, luckily, but the vehicle arrives on its own and people were setting them on fire. People were vandalizing them. I guess there were 5 of them that were set on fire. Again, this does not help. This doesn't do anything to protect immigrants. It doesn't help the cause. It is turning the public against what's going on here and the protesters. So honestly, I really wish people would just cut the crap, stop doing things like this. It is not good. And I'm going to share some stats or some polling numbers, I should say, which will prove that what I'm saying is correct. Meanwhile, though, Trump is ratcheting up his authoritarianism and his fascism. He has now mobilized Marines to come to Los Angeles. He has moved them from their base in 29 Palms, which is out in Riverside County, which is next door to Orange County. It's east of Orange County. So he has moved Marines to Los Angeles. He also deployed 2,000 additional National Guard troops. I think he had already sent like 10,000. Now there's 12,000. He has, again, deployed 700 Marines to the area. I'm not sure what they're going to do. This is not their job, especially going up against their fellow American citizens, not what Marines were trained to do. And then Pete Hegseth, the, lush that Donald Trump put in charge of our military, he has said that they will remain, meaning the military, meaning the Marines and National Guard, they will remain in Los Angeles for 60 days. And a Defense Department controller confirmed this is going to cost 60 days of having all these people deployed $134 million for something that the Los Angeles Police Department was handling, that was perfectly equipped and able to deal with. So, we dismantled Veterans Affairs. We stripped veterans of services. We took food out of the mouths of needy children, starving children in our country, in other countries around the world. We are literally letting children around the world die of treatable diseases because we said we can't afford it. We said, oh, we got to cut back on all this wasteful spending, but we can afford $134 million for 60 days of these troops to be in Los Angeles when they were not asked for. The governor did not request them. The city mayor did not request them. And it's unnecessary. But because Donald Trump wants to put on a show. As I said, though, the public is not on board with the protests, especially, if they keep seeing videos and photos of violence, things on fire, people looting stores, which is now happening, people are going to turn against it. So People need to cut the shit, knock this off, tell other people if you're with them and they want to start vandalizing stuff, you need to put this on lockdown. The polls show the public supports Donald Trump overall in regard to deportations, and a plurality, though, disapprove of the protests. So it's not a majority, but it is a plurality. Although most of the respondents did say that they believe that it has been mostly peaceful. So this was in a YouGov poll. This was conducted this week. 38% said, yeah, it's mostly peaceful. 36% said, no, mostly violent. And then 26% said, not sure. So the protesters need to win over those not sure people, because obviously, the 36% that say, oh, it's mostly violent, those are the Fear News Network viewers, and they aren't going to get the truth either way. So, but if you want to win the public over, we got to keep it civil. We got to keep it respectful and not violent in any way, shape, or form. No vandalism, no violence. Let them commit the acts of violence. See how fast the public turns on Trump. The YouGov poll, though, said that the plurality of respondents, 45%, disapprove of the military deployment. Only 38% approve. So 38% is that same, Fear News Network viewer. So again, not a majority, but you do have a plurality of 45% who say, yeah, I don't like sicking our military, whether it be National Guard, Marines, whomever, on our own people. This is not right. And then in the meantime, Trump's puppy killer, Kristi Noem, she went on Fear News Network. This is the kind of stuff these people are watching. She was pushing Trump's immigration propaganda and immigrant propaganda, stirring up more white fright. So here is part of what the sociopath had to say.
In LA, what we have been going after is the worst of the worst. They're murderers. They're people who have been perpetuating assault and trafficking human beings and drugs. They're not a city of immigrants. They're a city of criminals. And the more that people conduct violence against law enforcement officers, boy, we're going to hit them back. And we're going to hit them back harder than we ever have before.
She is so full of shit. First of all, no, they're not going after the worst of the worst. Targeting day laborers at Home Depot, which is what kicked this whole thing off the other day, and then targeting parents attending their kids' elementary school graduations, that is not going after the worst of the worst. They don't know who they're targeting. They were put under pressure. Stephen Miller pressured them. Donald Trump pressured them to hit certain targets, to hit a certain number of people every day, that they wanted to see a certain number of arrests every single day. And so they're like the little cops hanging out on their motorcycles in the bushes, trying to write as many tickets as they can before the end of the month. That's what this is about. They don't know who they're arresting. When you just go and do random sweeps in a parking lot at a Home Depot, or you just go and swarm an elementary school in an area that's known for a high Hispanic population, you are not going after the worst of the worst. You have no freaking idea who these people are. And the Trump administration has already admitted that the majority of the people that they have arrested have no criminal history. So this is the exact polar opposite of what most people wanted. The people who agreed with getting tough on illegal immigration, the people who wanted to see the criminals taken out of this country, which I am 100% on board with. I have absolutely no qualms, no problem with Donald Trump arresting and getting dangerous people, dangerous criminals, immigrants out of our country. But when you are just targeting hardworking people for no reason other than the fact that you want to hit your numbers for the month or the day, and because they have brown skin or black skin, That is not what the majority of Americans voted for and wanted. And even the majority didn't vote for Trump. Let's get that clear. I saw a guy on Twitter yesterday and he said, oh, 54% of Americans wanted this and voted for Donald Trump to deport illegals and blah, 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 blah. It's like, I told him, you must not be good at math because he didn't even win a majority of the country in the 2024 election. He won a plurality, but he did not get over 50%. And then when you factor in all the people who didn't vote at all of the people who voted third party, he is not popular. He does not have a huge mandate. So anyway, California has filed a lawsuit against Donald Trump for deploying the National Guard. I saw before I jumped on to record that the judge in the case has not given Gavin Newsom, has not given the state a win outright. What they did was they said Donald Trump and his administration has to reply by, I think they said 2 p.m. tomorrow, 2 p.m. on Wednesday, and then the judge will make a decision. So didn't outright approve, didn't outright disapprove and deny the request. So we will see what happens tomorrow when they get into court. And then I wanted to point out one of the biggest dangers that I see that I don't think has gotten anywhere near enough reporting and airtime is one of the consequences of Donald Trump's repulsive actions here and how ICE is behaving, how they're getting away with handling things incognito with these masks on and everything else, is the fact that you have now people impersonating ICE agents. And I have reported on this before. I did a video about several instances where a couple of young guys went into a college, terrorized people in there, impersonating ICE. Another woman was violated. She was assaulted by a man. He told her, if you don't do what I tell you to do, I'm going to deport you. He was not an ICE agent. So we are seeing this over and over again, and now it has happened again. So there was a guy who went in, he zip tied a woman and stole $1,000 from an auto repair store. So this woman was working there. She is a legal U.S. resident, but she is from the Dominican Republic. And he went in masked and said, oh, I'm here as an ICE agent. I'm an immigration officer. You have to do what I say. Zip ties her and takes the money. Could have killed her, could have done a lot of other things to her. I mean, this is what we are dealing with. This is what happens when you allow these ICE agents to walk around with masks on their faces, no warrants, no identifying information, no badges. They don't have to show any ID. They don't have to have a warrant, and they're just snatching people off the street. This is the inevitable consequence. And I'm telling you, if this happened to me or someone I care about, there would be hell to pay. There would be the biggest freaking lawsuit. I think all of these people who have been victimized by these fake ICE agents, I think they should sue the Trump administration. I think that they should get their Ashley Babbitt payout. And I want to share this too, because there was an unlikely critic who is speaking up against Donald Trump and what he's doing with immigration. She may have some, ulterior motives, so I'm going to share that as well. But Florida State Senator Ileana Garcia, who, by the way, won her seat by, illegal means, not that she did anything illegal, but she was the beneficiary of that ghost candidate that ran down in Florida and siphoned votes away from the Democrats. So that's how she got her seat. So she also co-founded the group Latinas for Trump. This is how big of a Trump supporter she is. Garcia, though, just issued a statement and she said, quote, This is not what we voted for. I have always supported Trump through thick and thin. However, this is unacceptable and inhumane. Garcia is primarily referring to Trump's deportation of immigrants in Florida. You guys probably know he has now stripped people of their temporary protective status, people who came here from Cuba, from Haiti, various other countries. Venezuela is a big one. So there's a lot of them in Florida. So she is speaking out about this and, in general, the way people are being treated. I mean, her comments are very rare, very surprising. And she told the Miami Herald, quote, I understand the importance of deporting criminal aliens, but what we are witnessing are arbitrary measures to hunt down people who are complying with their immigration hearings, in many cases with credible fear of persecution claims, all driven by a Miller-like desire to satisfy a self-fabricated deportation goal. This undermines the sense of fairness and justice the American people value. I will not back down. I am committed to being vocal and proactive in seeking real solutions, not engaging in grandstanding like Stephen Miller. So, specifically calling out Miller. I mean, obviously, she is no fan of his, as would be the majority of the population on the planet Earth. But, again, this could all be BS. I mean, a lot of her constituents are Venezuelan, they're Cuban, they're Haitian. A lot of them are in Florida, and a lot of them have family members, who are being targeted, who came here under TPS, or they have friends in the area who are being targeted or what have you. So they're speaking out. They're putting pressure on her, and it's obviously getting to her. She is one of a few down there who have been speaking out, but this is the most forceful statement that I've heard so far. So, let Trump burn his bridges, guys. Anybody on the left who's thinking about taking part in these protests, let them be the bad guy. Give them enough rope, let them hang themselves. We stay on the right side of what's going down. Peaceful protests. They cannot say anything, and they cannot arrest people legally unless you are doing something wrong, unless you're violating the law. So let's keep it safe. Let's keep it, like I said, respectful, keep it, nonviolent. But yeah, I would say absolutely we should be out in the streets protesting what's happening in this country, just peacefully. All right. Thank you all so much for watching and listening. Please like, please share, and subscribe. Please donate if you can. Love you all. Take care. Talk with you soon.